So greetings and welcome to everyone. It's wonderful to have all of you with us today. My name is Beth and I'm the program manager at the Sadhguru Center for a Conscious Planet and also an instructor in anesthesia at Harvard Medical School. We're very happy to welcome you to the Sadhguru Center Speaker Series today, where we present lectures and discussions highlighting the research and explorations of our multidisciplinary community of scientists, global experts, and thought leaders. Dr. Bala, if you could share. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Sadhguru Center for a Conscious Planet is a multidisciplinary research center based at Department of Anesthesia, Critical Care, and Pain Medicine at Beth Deaconess Medical Center, which is a Harvard affiliate hospital. The center aims to bring tools of well-being to patients, healthcare providers, and the larger community to enhance consciousness, cognition, and compassion. And our work is at the nexus of research, education, and outreach. We offer wellness programs, conduct scientific research studies, and bring together world leaders from diverse fields to collaborate and innovate health and well-being solutions. Today it's my privilege to introduce to you our speakers, Sadhguru Center's Director, Dr. Subramaniam, and Dr. Senthil Sadasivam from University of Pittsburg. They will be discussing the topic of investigating advanced medication program to improve physical and mental health. A little bit about our speakers today. Dr. Subramaniam received his medical degree from Jawaharlal Institute of Postgraduate Medical Education and Research, Jipmer, Pondicherry, India, and completed his residency in anesthesiology at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, India, and postdoctoral training and fellowships in anesthesia at Beth Deaconess Medical Center. He also obtained a master's in public health from Harvard School of Public Health, and from 2014 to 2020, he served as the director of the Center for Anesthesia Research Excellence. In 2019, he was appointed as the very first incumbent of the Ellison G. Pierce Chair of Anesthesia at Beth Deaconess Medical Center. Dr. Subramaniam's research focuses on improving perioperative outcomes and more recently on the benefits of yoga and meditation practices on health outcomes and general well-being. In November 2020, he launched the Sadhguru Center for a Conscious Planet here at Beth Deaconess Medical Center. And our other speaker, Dr. Senthil Sadasivam, he began his medical training at Thanjavur Medical College in India. He completed his anesthesiology residencies at All India Institute of Medical Sciences and Beth Deaconess Medical Center, Harvard Medical School. He is currently the Executive Vice Chair for Clinical Quality, Patient Safety, and Clinical Research, also Director of Perioperative Research and Director of Perioperative Genomics Program. He's also a professor at University of Pittsburg. His research interests are in pain management, human well-being, and spirituality. Thank you so much, Senthil and Bala, for joining us, and please take it away.
Thank you, Sapire. Namaskaram.
Thank you, Sapire. Namaskaram, everyone, and thank you for joining this exciting program. And it's actually great to talk to Senthil at a professional level. He has been my friend of almost 25 years. It brings a lot more joy when you can combine profession with passion. We'll spend the next 40 minutes or so talking about the Samyama study that was done, I think, in 2018 at the III that I was fortunate to take part with you as the lead in Senthil. So in the Sadhguru Center for Conscious Planet that I'm privileged to start, basically we're trying to combine spirituality and science and trying to bring them closer. They have a lot to offer each other, and spiritually experiential and can be in leaps and bounds, where science is more incremental and methodical. So for those in the audience who are not aware of what Samyama is, here you go. I think most of you know what Samyama is. And Sadhguru often talks about Samyama as a day complete silence program with long hours of meditation. It provides the possibility for individuals to free themselves from the bonds of karma and purify the system, opening them up to subtler realms of experience. The program presents the potential for participants to reach heightened levels of consciousness and experience explosive states of meditativeness in the presence of Sadhguru. This has been the most significant thing I've done ever, says Austin Nashville. All these days, I only read about peace or saw people talking about peace, but I actually felt peace only here, says Khalilur Rahman from Coimbatore. Samyama for me made me look much deeper in so many aspects, says Aparna from USA. So, I've been fortunate to take part in this program at least twice as a participant, and that really left me dumbfounded and actually made me a little bit more confident to talk about things because it is such an experiential program. So here we want to just take you through the study a little bit and give the context of what was done. So we're lucky to also and privileged to share that this paper was recently accepted in Frontiers in Psychology, called Isha Yoga Practices and Participation in Samyama Program are associated with reduced hemoglobin A1C and systemic inflammation, improved lipid profile, short-term and sustained improvement in mental health. This was a prospective observational study of meditators with a very large body of people. And you can see this was a collaborative study, and Senthil was the lead investigator. He was very kind with his time, with his funding, and also design, getting the IRB approval, and went far and above beyond anyone's expectations to orchestrate this study. And Suresh is a physician who's become a full-time volunteer now. He's a surgeon from Kentucky. Raj Matri is an ophthalmologist from Indiana. Amy Williams, psychologist. Ramana is a PhD postdoc in Indiana. Sepide is a PhD here. Mayur, PhD from Berkeley. Dhanashree from Senthil's research coordinator. Sangeet, an intensivist from Indiana. Senthil is an anesthesiologist in Indiana. And we have statisticians, Chitra from radiology. Janal is a writing specialist from Indiana. Tracy Chang, Rutgers, psychologist, and myself. So we'll talk a little bit more about this study. Senthil, what motivated you to do the study? And, can you give a little bit insight into the motivation, the funding, and your vision for doing this very large study?
Thank you, Bala. And I've been doing meditation for 6-7 years now. And when I did the BSP and Shambhavi, I then always wanted to go deeper. This is a great opportunity, not only to participate in Samyama and also study it. I'm a researcher myself. I do other research besides the spirituality research. And for physicians to show objective evidence is important. And we know meditation and the spirituality is non-physical, but it has significant body benefits and mind benefits. To show physicians and the scientific community that there are objective physiological benefits to body and mind, we needed a study. And so we were able to do this with Sadhguru's blessings. Everything fell in place rapidly. We were able to design the study. All the people who Bala mentioned were able to get this study designed within record time, 1 week. And typically IRB takes 2 months to review and approve. We were able to get it done in 8 days, right in time for just before the Samyama preparation. As you know, the Samyama is only 8-day program, but it proceeds with at least 2 months of preparation. So this is a timeline, and so I will go through that. And before that, I wanted to say what motivated me. And I was blown away by many meditation programs, was never so happy in my life. So I was with BSP program. Then if BSP was so good, and I thought Samyama will be even better, and with a lot of meditation programs, and we wanted to study that. So before the Samyama study, we did study the BSP program, and we showed for first time the happiness people experience after BSP is from endocannabinoid. It's an anandamide is the major endocannabinoid, which was released significantly, almost 2 to 3-fold higher in BSP participants compared to their own baseline before the BSP program. Then also it was associated with a significant reduction in anxiety and depression. And we wanted to take the research to the next level. And as you know, the Samyama program was organized in April 2018. And people from the US and other countries participated. And we were able to do this study and collect samples throughout the US and do brain scans throughout the US and collect other samples, including genetic samples, microbiome samples. It's a big organization. I do NIH research. It will take close to $3 million to do it. Fortunately, we were able to do for $500,000. And with also with III's support and Sadhguru's blessings. We'll get into the study. So you can see this program, the Samyama program was in April 2018 and the first week of April. And the pre-program was the 2 months before that. Then we had to do everything, including the IRB approval and the study design and reaching out to people to collect blood samples at their own home settings. So we were able to do that quickly within a month or so, or less than a month. Then the pre-program, as you know, for participating in Samyama, you have to have at least participated in all 4 programs, starting with Shambhavi, Shunya, BSP, and Yogasanas. And besides that, the III instructor will screen participants or potentially interested people and also their commitment to continuing these practices for at least 2 months before Samyama and sticking to the vegan diet, raw vegan diet for at least 2 months before the program. So after we got buy-in from III and we got the list of Samyama participants from III. And then we shared our invitation letter to participate in the research with all the participants. And also, not only we invited the participants to participate in the study, it also invited their significant others from the same household to participate as a control group. And as you can see, many people, I think there were about 1,000 people who registered for Samyama 2 months before the program. And we were able to reach out to almost all of them with our surveys. So we have 4 time points. So I think we not only did blood samples and MRI studies, we also did psychological survey, how they felt about their anxiety, depression, joy, vitality. We'll go into that detail. So that's a time point 1. We did the SurveyMonkey survey, asking 20-30 minutes worth of questions. We used validated surveys, psychological surveys at 4 different time points. The time point 1 was 2 months before the program. And the time point 2, you can see here on March 31st, that's 1 week before the Samyama program. Then time point 3 was immediately after Samyama program, within a week after Samyama program. Then the last time point was time point 4, which was 3 months after the Samyama program. So this is a very longitudinal study, prospectively designed. So you can see that the span was almost 30 weeks and almost half a year, the whole year of 2018. So 2018, the first half of the year, we were collecting data over different time points. This is the largest study of meditators and involving multiple states in the US and also multiple countries. The survey was open to throughout the participants from throughout the world. And so that's why we have more people participating in the survey. We were limited on the blood samples, not only because of the physical distance, also because of monetary funds. And we were able to get all these done in timely fashion because of all the volunteers we had throughout the country. And the volunteers, Isha volunteers at centers Sadhguru centers throughout the country, they were able to collect blood samples and send them to our labs in Indiana when I was there.
Yeah, this is brilliant. It's the largest study and a lot of funding coming from your lab, and mostly the collaborators and also the meditators who not only took part in the study, but also orchestrated the sample delivery and all of that. It's just a huge blessing for us to do it. It's impressive to have this large study with many more offshoots to come out of this. So we can talk about what else is coming from this study. So I just wanted to look at this table of whatever you told. Just go through the samples and the number of patient participants who were there when you started off, and how we ended up with the number later on.
Okay.
You want to just briefly talk about the numbers?
Yeah. So we started with the enrollment at time point 1, which is 2 months before the preparation. You can see there were almost 1,045 Samyama participants who are registered for the program. Once they registered, III shared the list, mainly the email and the name. So we were able to reach out to all the participants to see whether they're interested in research, mainly to show that this program's ability to improve physical benefits and provide mental benefits. So almost everyone was interested, and we have a lot of positive comments. So you can see there are 2 groups. One is the actual Samyama participants. Then also some of the participants, Samyama participants, meditators, were able to recruit their significant others from the household. So we started with the 1,045 Samyama participants and 126 household controls, wives or husbands or significant others in the same household. So we assigned them to 2 groups. The group on the left is all meditators, group on the right is all controls. The controls are non-meditators, and so they did not participate in any meditation or Samyama program or any other major meditation program. And so we did the time point 1, which is called T1, the initial survey. And so we included surveys for depression, anxiety, and also positive behaviors, including joy, mindfulness, focus. So we were able to collect that with the Survey Monkey. So even though we sent for the invited all 1,000 plus people, we got almost 75% response, positive response. And almost more than 50% of them completed the survey. Then in time point 2, which is 2 months after time point 1, just within a week before actual 8-day residential Samyama program, we did the second survey. We wanted to see how, even before Samyama program, all the 2 months of preparation, the vegan diet, how it influenced their behavior. So we wanted to collect that data. So we sent the same number of emails, and then some people dropped off. We were not able to, even though they registered for Samyama, some people dropped off from even doing the program for different reasons. So 451 people still responded and completed the survey at time point 2. And the controls, I can see simultaneously, the controls are household people and significant others. They are not as motivated as meditators. I think we had only less number of people to start with, 126. And by the time we got to time point 2, we had only 36 household controls. Then we did the time point 3. This is the actual number of people who participated in Samyama program, 860 in 2018. Then we reached out to all of them, and almost more than 50% of them completed the survey, which is significant compared to other large studies with no incentive. And it shows the meditators' interest in showing benefits with this research. So even though it's only 50+%, it's significantly higher compared to any other large meditation studies out there. Yeah. Then since the controls did not do any major intervention like Samyama, the 8-day residential program, there was no point in doing another survey at time point 3. So we dropped that just to make sure that we are not causing a lot of burden, because everyone has to spend at least 20 minutes to complete the online survey. Then we collected at time point 4, almost 3 months after Samyama program, we did the same survey. We also included some new measures, what are the differences compared to their baseline state before Samyama versus 3 months later. And I think except to 2 people, we were able to reach out to almost everyone. And as you can see, almost 1/3 of participants still responded and completed the survey. And at time point 4, we had only 15 controls. We were limited by their willingness to complete the survey and their time. And also the IRB did not allow us to repeatedly remind them. So we had some limitations, how many times we can remind the participants and their controls.
So it's another thing I just wanted to say that, even for meditators, taking the level of participation like Samyama, we had a very good response, 286, in any survey literature is great, but still, if people would have participated more in just filling up these surveys, you would have had 100% participation. So which we are also repeatedly finding in other studies where even the best motivated meditator can drop off the study. And that makes it really difficult for us to, have all the data that we need. But still, we have so many people, like 300 people, that's a lot.
Yeah. Even the 300 is probably the largest study we have ever done. So this is a significant number of meditators. Then if you go to the analysis part, and we want to analyze the Samyama meditators who had data at all 4 time points. Even if one meditator missed out one of the time points, say time point 3 or time point 4, we did not include them in the analysis. We wanted to keep the Samyama meditator as his or her own control. We wanted to see how everyone progressed over 4 different time points. So that's why, even though we had 286, by excluding people who did not complete 1 or 2 surveys at different time points, we finally ended up having close to 200 Samyama meditators.
This also creates the problem of missing data, right? And so for publication makes it really difficult, as reviewers will ask you for missing data. How did you impute and how did they behave, etc. This might have been just simply a case of forgetting to do the surveys, but
so I think for meditators who are out there, so we would be doing a lot more studies in future. If you participate in the study, please complete the study. And this is the tip of the iceberg. What I'm saying is this is a representative of all the meditators. Even though they dropped out, that doesn't mean they didn't have the benefits. Probably for some reason or other, they were busy, or they didn't get the email, or didn't open, or into spam. They did not complete the survey for some reason. But all the findings we had shows that it's applicable to all the meditators, and it is reflective of the whole program and the benefit it offered to all the participants.
Right. So I just wanted to anchor here a little bit before we go to the data and what we found, right? Even before Samyama, as you mentioned, preparation is a key, and the preparatory steps itself is so intense with so many components in it. So I just wanted to give some evidence for the preparatory components itself changing several things. And on top of that, when you go for a 7-day retreat, you see further changes for the better, right? So we just want to show a little bit about, we start off with inner engineering online. So this study, which probably many people have seen already, with just the 7 online modules, there was a significant drop in their stress levels. You can see that blue line, just the perceived stress score. And then now Sadhguru is doing inner engineering completion online. That is, once they've done the inner engineering online, you go to the completion piece, and we were able to record some of this data from last year when they completed about 174 participants. When you see that all scores, whether it's stress score, sleep quality index, awareness score, positive emotions, etc., highly significantly for the better with these completion online. So even if it is a completion program given online, it is still significantly effective. So we can see that baseline 13.5. Immediately after online completion, you get to a score of 12. But when you practice continuously over next 6 weeks, you have a significant reduction. So again, it gives you the importance of why you need to stick to the practice and then realize the benefits. If you stop in the middle, you're not going to realize the benefits. So that is the inner engineering online and the completion program. And separately, the group from Deepak Chopra and Christine Tara Peterson, they looked at Shambhavi itself, and they've shown significant reduction in stress and increased well-being. So optimum practice times is at least 6 times a week. So it's important to stick to your practices. This is what Senthil referred to. This was the first study he did. He led with other collaborators, where he was able to show with the BSP program that the depression levels were significantly low right after the BSP. Anxiety levels were significantly low. And this is probably mediated by increased anandamide levels. This is all straight from his paper. And BDNF levels were also higher. And then another integral part of preparation is the Shunya meditation. So separate group which looked at Shunya meditation with Himalayan yoga and also Vipassana. They were able to show that increased gamma power in this patient, which is associated with more learning and executive control networks. So it seems like regular Shunya practices also helps independent of all these things that we talked about. And last year, when we looked at regular Isha Yoga practitioners, right? So it's a very complicated study design, but just to let you know that we looked at all participants from all around US, dominated by Northeast Texas and California, the major participants. Everybody, almost over 18 to 20 weeks of COVID, when even before the vaccination came, always, look at this green line, always the regular practitioners of inner engineering techniques, whether Shambhavi or more than that, always had the lowest level of stress. We are talking about 5,000 inner engineering participants. That's really the largest number compared to age, gender, and zip code, especially at baseline, 2,500 controls who never had any yoga. They had the higher levels of perceived stress scale. Even a simple Simakriya practice seemed to benefit them. Same story for the well-being. So it's very important to stick to the practices and carry on with that. So let's just switch back to the Samyama results, and I'll allow Senthil to talk about the baseline demographics and other findings that we have. Go ahead, Senthil.
Yeah, so you can see predominantly most of the people who completed the survey, the 195 Samyama participants, are predominantly Indian origin, Asian Indian origin. And also we had significant, almost 1/5 of them are Caucasians. And we also had some Far East Asians, Chinese and Japanese in origin. And also we had other races, but predominantly it was Asian Indians and whites. And the controls are typically significant others. It was corresponding race and ethnicity matched. So we had almost equal number of males and females, almost 50-50%, 55-45. And you can see the vegan diet, the raw vegan diet alone, was completed by 25% of people, but most of them, almost more than 90% of them said they are vegetarians, and to start with. And that proportion was slightly less on the controls, and the age-wise, it's comparable between the controls and the Samyama meditators. And one major difference we found was the weight. And the Samyama meditators, when they started the program, they were a little bit lighter and weight. And the other major differences, the vegan diet was practiced by 25% of Samyama practitioners even at the beginning. Then it went up to close to 90% during the time point 2 and time point 3. Time point 3 was almost 100% during the Samyama program. Everyone was given only the vegan food. Compared to that, the controls, only 7% were vegans. Well, I'm going to go to the next slide. So here we show the mental health benefits. So Bala talked about inner engineering online, a BSP program, Shunya program making differences. And the Samyama program is almost culmination of everything, and it's a combination of everything. And it's the most advanced meditation program someone who's not in sannyasi pathway can do. So we wanted to see the benefits, and you can see this is almost unheard of, and almost 50% reduction in depression and anxiety without any medications and without any adverse effects. So with only the benefit, which is almost unheard of even with any other meditation program. So we can see there are two lines. People who had almost no depression to start with stayed low, and you can see at time point 3, which is the post-interventionist immediately after Samyama program, they had the lowest depression score right after Samyama. And even at time point 4, it was below the baseline. And what other line, the black line on the top, those are the Samyama participants who reported significant clinical depression to start with. Any score above 10 is clinically significant depression that would need medication treatment. And we can see even just 2 months of preparatory practices, and that decreased the score significantly. And the Samyama program further decreased to the lowest level possible. And these patients, not patients, these Samyama participants continue to have lower depression scores compared to where they started before the Samyama program. That's pretty significant. Even medications, the antidepressants, don't achieve this kind of results. And the same is true for anxiety. And those, the bottom figure on the left side, the red line is those who did not have significant anxiety to start with. Even they had lowest anxiety scores immediately after Samyama. And those who reported clinical anxiety needing almost medications, but these were not on medications, you can see their anxiety significantly reduced with preparation, further decreased after Samyama program, almost stayed low throughout even at 3 months after program. So this is on the left side is all on the negative emotions, anxiety, depression. On the right side, we have positive emotions, including mindfulness, joy, vitality, and resilience. You can see all positive emotions increased over time, and with the preparation and with Samyama program, everything increased. And there was some drop off. Some people, some of the meditators stopped practicing Samyama, but it never came back to the baseline. And you can see the joy, even after 3 months after the Samyama program, continued to increase. One of the reasons is the endocannabinoids are released. There is a genetic programming, and also expression of anandamide increases over time. So that can explain continued increase in joy and happiness in the meditators. Want to go to the next slide, Bala?
Yeah, I also want to say that, even though we thought these are the places where we make a difference, there may be other benefits that we are not measuring, that there may be other benefits that we don't know how to measure. And so from what we know from this kind of research, probably this is what made the most sense.
Yeah, this spirituality we cannot measure. It's non-physical. There is no measure for measuring spirituality. So that we went with the physiological that would reflect the body, and also the mental benefits. So they are reflective of spiritual benefits. Then also we went one step beyond to show objective evidence in blood. And we collected blood from almost 150 people from their home settings throughout the country with all the volunteers, each volunteer support. They gave a lot of their time and support for collecting blood samples and send these samples to us with all the centrifuge and everything. And I spoke with Suresh more than with my wife at the time, so because of all the coordination. So it was wonderful to have Suresh and everyone helping and supporting and coordinating for a large study like this with almost minimal amount of money. We can see that we measured hemoglobin levels and the hemoglobin A1C, which is reflective of how much sugar is bound to the hemoglobin. And it is a measure of even patients with the diabetes, that's an indicator of their sugar control. Then we also measured the C-reactive protein, which is an indicator of systemic inflammation. Then we measured multiple lipids, including the good cholesterol, which is HDL, then bad cholesterol, LDL, then actual cholesterol, then triglycerides. You can see the meditators were on raw vegan diet for 2 months. Here in the x-axis, we have time point 1, 2, 3, 4. And the y-axis is different parameters, different blood biomarkers. You can see the controls are in red color, and the participants are the Samyama meditators. You can see the Samyama meditators had a drop in hemoglobin. That is anticipated when someone is on a vegan diet. There is no vitamin B12 and other important vitamins to make a hemoglobin. They had a temporary drop in hemoglobin, and it increased significantly and came back to a normal level, or their baseline level at time point 3 immediately after Samyama. That stayed there. And on the other hand, the controls had a lower hemoglobin compared to the Samyama participants at time point 4, which was lower than when they started. And so I want to point out the benefits. The hemoglobin A1C was very low, which is a good thing that happened in the Samyama participants right before the program. And as you can see, the raw vegan diet or vegetarian diet is a lot of carbohydrates. Despite that, they had a low hemoglobin A1C. And the most important finding, this is a take-home message, is the systemic inflammation measured in terms of C-reactive protein. Almost the black line is the meditators control compared to their own household controls, eating the same food or living in the same life. The meditators had 2 to 3-fold lower levels of C-reactive protein, which is significant finding that shows there is systemic inflammation is a lot less in meditators. This lower systemic inflammation is associated with better cardiac health, better control for hypertension and all other disease, and also low risk for cancers. And we did not follow these participants beyond 3 months. I think if we reach out to them, we would be able to show significant difference in other comorbidities in these participants. So
another important impressive thing was also this HDL increase with the vegan diet, right?
Yeah, the HDL is a good cholesterol that increases with the exercise. There were a lot of kriyas, yogasanas during between the time point 1 and 2, and also it continued. I think some of the increase could be related to, I would say, the physical bodily movements and exercise, and also yogasanas, kriyas, and also the vegan diet, the healthier diet maybe that contributed to a significant increase in the good cholesterol, HDL. Then it stayed high even at time point 3. Some of the participants dropped off from following vegan diet or vegetarian diet after time point 3. We did not ask their diet history at time point 3. Then the bad cholesterol, you can see, even though we did not show a significant difference, you can see the two curves are so different. And the bad cholesterol was a lot lower in the Samyama participants compared to their own household controls. And same was true for total cholesterol and also triglycerides. So the lipid profile was a lot more favorable, even at the beginning and throughout the program, time point 2, time point 3, and time 4, compared to their own controls in this program. That shows a very objective evidence. So the psychological benefits can say you feel anxiety, depression, it's your thing, but others cannot empathize. But objective data, this is a blood biomarker we measured in a lab without any indication of a blinded measurement that showed objective improvement in all these parameters. And Sadhguru always wanted to show hard data versus soft data. Hard data meaning objective data. We were able to show simultaneously significant bodily improvement and physiological health improvement with important data.
So for me, even if they're committing to Samyama, that means they are probably doing their practices regularly, even at baseline. So when you look at the baseline inflammation differences at CRP, baseline differences in the LDL, triglycerides, etc., that itself is again, an indication that if you do your regular practices, even before you come to Samyama, you already have very favorable, biochemical profile for risk, right? So that's fascinating. I wanted to spend some more time on the other paper that's coming up. So the major findings, correct me if I am wrong, it's basically significant lower anxiety and depression, especially if you start off very high. And it outlasted and lasted even for 3 months after the retreat, which was very impressive. And you mentioned about the increased mindfulness, joy, vitality, and resilience. Objectively, you showed lower systemic inflammation, especially during COVID times. I think it's so important that you are starting off at a higher advantage when you have a low inflammation. Even if you get infected, you probably have a better outcome because to begin with, you had a better profile, higher HDL and the lower hemoglobin A1C that you mentioned. So I just wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk about this paper that is coming out. Samyama itself, I think, led to many other studies, right? Collecting the data. So this was the second study that came out from that work, again, led by Ramana, who's in your lab, and yourself as senior author, and Dhrupa, who's not a meditator, but from radiology, and Kestis from here, from Sadhguru Center, again, not a meditator. So it's nice to have these people who are not meditators, but working on this data and coming out with more objectivity to it. So do you want to just touch upon the findings that you had in this particular study that is just about to be released? It got accepted, about to be released from Fontiers, I think.
Yeah, I would be happy to. So when we designed the study, we wanted to study not only the psychological benefits and the blood biomarkers, we also wanted to show benefits in brain. And the only way to do that is by bringing the Samyama participants before and after, showing changes in the brain. So that's what we did in this study. And in addition, we also did simultaneously collected their stool samples to see how the microbiome changed over time. So we were able to collect more than 500 stool samples. We have some positive findings. We will be publishing that soon. Then we also measured lipid levels in blood lipidomic study. So that will be coming out. There's another study which is already accepted in PNAS recently, led by Vijay Chandran from Florida. That shows them genetic changes with the Samyama. This is one Samyama program, one study, but we had multiple findings. We wanted to show objective evidences for each. So in this particular brain MRI study, we recruited the Samyama participants who can travel to Indiana before and after Samyama program on their own without any compensation for visiting Indiana University Radiology Lab, where we were able to scan them. And also we recruited their household controls who were able to come for the MRI. So you can see we had close to 18 Samyama participants and 6 controls, and who were able to come before and after the program, Samyama program, for MRI MRI of the brain. So we not only did the MRI of brain, mainly the structural change. We looked at the structural changes and also functional changes, a dynamic functional change during a focused breathing. That's a task-oriented, and I'm not a radiologist. My wife is a radiologist who's part of the study. So we had some smart people who were able to help with the design. Chitra Ram was one of the radiologists who contributed to the design part. Then we were able to use some expertise of other radiologists who were able to help with the functional MRI image analysis.
So from what I gather from your study was just to translate it to novices like us with MRI, basically you said that meditators, once they undergo the Samyama program, they can have a complete dynamic control over every portions of their attention, right? Basically,
yeah.
That was pretty unique, demonstrate the ability of the meditators to voluntarily and dynamically influence and control certain brain connectivity based on meditation-related specific tasks, such as focused breathing. So it looks like that was a significant finding there.
Yeah, I think that's a major finding. And unlike other fMRI studies in other meditation programs, we were able to show one breathing technique during Samyama is focused breath watching. And during that, program, the meditators were able to control the functional activity of the brain. So I think that activity shows their focus. They can intently focus and concentrate on things while improving their cognitive ability, executive ability, and mindfulness. So we saw increased inter-region connectivity, and also during the focused breathing, there was decreased activity. They are able to shut down the brain when they were focusing on breathing. So that's very important, and none of the other MRI studies in meditators have shown that.
So yeah, it's like increased cortical executive network function, ability to focus, and again, Sadhguru keeps talking about attention as a major thing in all these programs. If you can do that indiscriminately, attention towards everything, then that is something really great. And we saw that with this kind of, even though it was a small study, but with committed volunteers who participated in it, showing that kind of, paves way for larger studies to come.
And one more point about it. So we not only showed the brain changes, we also showed that the brain changes were correlating with their mindfulness and attentiveness. So which is important. Right.
Those who also had a higher mindfulness awareness scale, they are the ones who showed this dynamic connectivity. Great. Now this is wonderful, and we are hoping that Vijay will probably come up with this from University of Florida. Will have his paper on the genetic work that he has done. So we won't release anything more than that. That's to come, and then we'll have the stools work, the stool samples that you're working with, some other meditators, and then we'll have the lipidomics work coming out of the Samyama. There's somebody else who's working on all the blood biomarkers, looking at a comprehensive tool to see is everything correlating or not. So that effort is really paying off. And most important thing, the takeaway message is you might feel great for up to 3 months and even longer, but keeping up with the practices, I think, is an important factor. So with that, we'll open up for questions for the next 10-15 minutes. Let me see if I can stop sharing, and then we'll just go back to the questions. Right. So if there are any questions, Sepide, you may want to lead off the questions.
All right, absolutely. Thank you so much for the fascinating work and for the engaging conversation. So one question I can see is from Nidhi. Congratulations on a great study and result. Thank you for sharing. Is there any effect on the cortisol levels with meditation?
Yeah, the cortisol level we did not purposefully measure. It was subject to a lot of variations, inter-individual variation and time of the day. So that is not a measure of long-term health or stress. That's why we chose not to measure it. And also it's more expensive on top of everything. So we had to manage everything with a tight budget. So we decided not to do cortisol. So we did not.
So on top of that, I want to bring out another study that was published by an independent group from the 90-day retreat that happened in 2009. They had a very robust cortisol response in meditators. They also had a 3-fold increase in BDNF. I think our paper was more like 50%. So yes, cortisol responses changes for the better with the meditations, but for this particular program, we didn't do that. Yeah, that's a published paper. We can send the paper if you're interested.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question asking, any studies were done on the sleep pattern of participants post-Samyama?
We, as part of the survey, we collected their sleep information, how long they were sleeping. So other than that, we did not collect any other data. So we know how long they slept. So the decrease sleep during the 2-month preparation was significantly lower compared to the controls. Other than that, we did not collect any other specific sleep data. I think this is the only. Yeah, Bala, I am not aware of any other Samyama study, Isha Samyama study, other than this one large study we did.
No. So there is no other Samyama study, but we are doing sleep studies on different participants like Shunya and others. So that is the data which might take another year for us to bring it out. Definitely sleep is of interest, and we are working on it.
So next question from Ravi, asking any future plans of looking at serotonin levels?
Yes, we have a lot of plans. At the same time, we're waiting for funding to even say, for example, we did collect blood samples for many things, including methylation, protein levels. We measured the protein levels, 5,000 proteins in each Samyama participant at different time points. So for even doing that, it was like $400 per sample per test. So we wanted to prioritize many things, but we did not measure serotonin. But that serotonin is included in one of the 5,000 proteins we measured. We are going to analyze the data. I think Bala's help. We have a group that would be looking at all the proteins levels, lipid levels, and the blood biomarkers. We'll be analyzing that data in the next few months.
Thank you, Senthil. Another question asking what is the pathophysiology behind all these results?
Sorry, I'm.
Yeah, so the question is, what is the pathophysiology behind all these good results? I think Senthil already alluded to the BDNF elevations, the anandamide changes, endocannabinoids, the work from BSP already alludes to increases in all these findings. So they can have multiple effects. Looks like brain-derived neurotrophic factor has so many effects at so many levels. We are also looking at the 5,000 proteins that Senthil talked about. He already analyzed it, but that needs to be read in a scientifically meaningful fashion. So maybe you'll find more talking about how this works.
Yeah, the very first step was not the mechanistic aspect of it. We wanted to show the physical benefits, mental benefits, so that the whole humanity can take advantage of meditations. And then we would be analyzing the mechanistic aspects, how it changes, and even why some BSP participant was so happy and other person was happy, but not as happy as other. What are the genetic variations that is contributing to different anandamide levels? So we are looking at that as well. So we wanted to, the first purpose was to show the benefits to people so that everyone can take advantage of it objectively. And the second aspect is looking at the mechanisms, which we are looking at now. We'll be able to share that data hopefully in 2022.
Right. So for Pavani's question, I think talking about beyond CRP and autoimmune diseases or melatonin, etc. Not specifically that, but wait to see this genetic study. It's coming very, very soon. And also among the 5,000 proteins, it includes the inflammatory pathway proteins also. We may or may not find anything there, but that is being done. Any studies on effect of these meditations on heart patients or any digestive disorders? So there is a meditator in Mayo Clinic who is working on patients post-heart attack and looking at rehabilitation in them. So that study might show some benefits. So that is in the works. Digestive disorders, especially irritable bowel syndrome. One of the participants in this call is actually taking part in that particular study. It's in planning stages. So we might get to see more of those. Any chance of collaborating with other institutes for fMRI or MEG? For sure, yes. Please write to us, and we're always open to collaborations. Senthil and our team, and there are other people who are interested in fMRI studies for sure.
And also we are looking at microbiome, and that may lead to additional insight into how the microbiome changes and offers mental benefits and other health benefits. We have analyzed the data that would be out in next year as well.
So there are a couple of questions we missed. I think one was, what is the percentage of Samyama participants who start at time 1 with high anxiety and depression? Do you know that number? You're muted, Senthil, you're muted.
Sorry. Out of the 195 patients, more than 10% had, I think 18 had high anxiety, clinical, 18 or so had high clinical anxiety scores, and about 15 or so had high clinical anxiety scores. So almost 10% of them started with high depression and high anxiety, needing almost medication, but they were not on medication.
Right. Another question from Babesh is whether any sharings from participants if they recovered from any chronic ailments post-Samyama.
Yes, we had a lot of subjective information. We had the survey monkey designed for that. Many people reported there are so many health benefits, but we were not able to combine everything. We had only 195 participants to compare. Many people reported benefits in decreasing antihypertensive medications, going off of the insulin treatment for diabetes. So we had a lot of even improvement in irritable bowel syndrome or other gut problems. It was so fulfilling to see the benefits. We are, as I mentioned, we are showing the tip of the iceberg, and we have not discovered everything the Samyama program offered. There may be a lot more benefits, and we did not even uncover yet.
So yeah, Sadhguru often talks about Samyama program is something where you experientially realize I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, which you start with Isha Kriya, right? It's the same thing, go full circle, do all this and come back with a simple meditation, Isha Kriya, and say it's the same thing that you're trying to do. Probably there is a lot more to unravel here, but it's only a beginning, and we are very, very thankful to Sadhguru to be even a contemporary to his life. That's a big benefit, and he's giving it free of cost for Samyama, which takes so much organization, and it's an unbelievable experience as a commoner not to be in the ashram and experience that. I believe that transformation itself is so fulfilling for us, and we can do all these things which can be enticing for people who are not into the meditation world. They can look at these benefits and maybe they'll walk into meditation, and once they experience, maybe they don't need these things. But what I find is sticking to the practices, compliance is a big deal. And if you're able to stick to the practice that we learn, probably you'll see so many benefits. And I think some of the time one data that you showed is very telling. And the COVID yoga study that we did in 5,000 participants, even during the peak of COVID, majority of these people had lowest stress levels and highest well-being compared to so many people with the same age, gender, from the same geographical area. I feel like those are all important takeaways for us to remember. So the one someone says, very, very grateful for the work you guys are doing. Again, thank you, Senthil, for orchestrating such a big study. Like you mentioned, it's like a $3 million study, which was done with the help of so many volunteers, your funding, your lead IRB. It's just unbelievable. I can't think of doing this over again in that short time frame.
Yeah, it's Sadhguru's blessings and all the volunteers support and the research teams so much time and commitment. So, and I think I wish we could do this study again. So hopefully there will be another Samyama.
Let me ask a question. If you have to do this study again, what will you change? One or two things.
Definitely, we can learn from our experience. And so we were, depending on the volunteers who did not have any experience, who collected the blood samples and other things. And so there are so many things. I don't want to take too much time. We would definitely do with funding, and so that we can do justice to this program, because we are not covering even small portion of it. Even though it's a large study, we have done a lot of things. We have uncovered probably a small part of it. It's all the benefits. And we don't even know what we are missing out. If you look at the logically, we are missing out a lot of things. We cannot measure the spirituality, spiritual benefits. So there's a lot to come. So we'll think about how to design a better study when there is next Samyama in the US.
Yeah, again, Sapire, thank you so much for all this. Do you have a question? Sorry.
I see one common question, especially from our YouTube audience, asking how they can participate in our study.
Bala, you want to go for that?
So how can we participate in which one?
Upcoming studies.
Yeah, so if it is from the US, keep an eye for emails coming from III advertising our studies, and especially a lot more studies are being planned from Sadhguru Center. We almost have a dozen studies that are planned to come in this year or next. we really want people to stick to the practices, definitely respond to the surveys, and definitely, participate and not just, taper off. Like even the most committed meditators sometimes just don't engage in it because they're so busy. But if you have to put out all these things, we need your help to finish these studies. So main ways to know is to look at Sadhguru Center, BADMC Sadhguru Center. We can, if someone can put that in the chat box, the web link. That'll be one place to look at. Another place is to look for emails from III to take part in it. We're also trying to form collaborations with several countries where they can have local people doing research, like India, specifically Nimans is going to start a large body of work soon. So, people who are in and around Karnataka can take part in it. There's another study that is going to come out of Pune looking at inflammation in various practices. So please take part in that. There are diabetic studies that are being done in a few other locations. So we are engaging in a lot more people, mainly encouraging them to do the studies on their own and just to be a catalyst to inspire them. Hopefully keep an eye and participate and be compliant with all the questionnaires. And if you have a criticism for us, hey, this is taking too much time, can you make it shorter? Please let us know, we'll adapt.
Thank you so much.
I know you have to go for another meeting. Thank you so much. I'll let Sepide finish.
Thank you so much, Senthil and Bala, for such a wonderful conversation. And I would also like to thank all the collaborators, volunteers, and participants who made this study possible. And of course, above all, Sadhguru for making these tools available to all of us. And we're all looking forward to seeing more such studies to show the impact of these practices on well-being. I would also like to thank all of our wonderful audience who joined us from all different places around the globe, and also for supporting us in our work. We hope to see you in our next Speaker Series event on Wednesday, December 15th, for a talk by Dr. Michael Goldstein, a neurologist and sleep researcher at Beth Deaconess Medical Center. To get more updates on future events and programs with the Sadhguru Center, we are posting in the chat the link that you can fill a form, and also our email address where you can stay in touch with us. And I hope you stay well, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Senthil, again. Thank you, Sepide.
Thank you.
Namaskaram.